Okay, it's recording, so we can get going. Okay, let me start by saying thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here with you, and thank you for joining the talk on Google Meet. I do know and realize that Google Meet is a little bit more interesting because now I, as a lecturer, actually know who is leaving the room early. And I'm going to make a note. So if you leave early, yeah, I will know. I will know. Obviously, just joking. Just sit back and enjoy and relax. Okay, so a little bit about me. This is a section where you basically get calibrated to my accent because it's not really important, but it takes about 2 minutes, so it should be enough for everyone to start understanding what I'm actually saying. So hi, I'm Gynvael. I do a lot of things. I guess for the most important for the talk is that I program from my whole life, basically for 36 years, something like that. I've written a book about programming called To Understand Programming, or in Polish, Zrozumieć Programowanie. I also am the project lead behind Paged Out magazine, which, if you don't know, check it out. It's super interesting, super technical, and I also saw some people from the Paged Out crew on the chat, so say hi to them. I also created a CTF team called Dragon Sector when we were still playing. I don't know, that was a decade ago. Basically, we were pretty good at CTFs, and currently during the day, I am the managing director and security researcher at Hexarcana, and we have an educational platform called Hack Arcana. Check us out, hackarcana.com. Okay, some disclaimers and stuff. So do treat this talk with a grain of salt, and because programming is sometimes a matter of opinion. So some things which I will say, oh, you probably shouldn't do things like AI generated in this case, you should probably do something else. Another programmer might actually say, no, this is actually how you should do it. This was correctly generated. Other things in programming are binary. They either work or don't work. They are either correct or are not correct. But on the part which is actually opinion-based, do take it with a grain of salt. Also, everything is live. I cannot double check everything. Some things which the AI will emit, you could say that, oh, but if you have used another model, then you'd actually not get that result. And that is true. There are a lot of different models currently in AI. Some are better, some are worse. There are some specific ways you use certain models. So because this is live, I cannot double check everything which is going to be generated, and therefore, again, treat the talk with a grain of salt. Now, important, in general, my approach to verifying or rather grading the AI is not that it successfully generated correct, secure code once, but that it always does it. Why? Because assume we are I don't know, there is 100,000 programmers in the world who are using AI to code applications. It's probably way more right now, but let's assume it's 100,000. And then the AI gets the code right 99% of the time, but still means that for this 100,000 people, 1,000, math at the evening is hard, 1,000 still gets buggy code or perhaps vulnerable code, insecure code. So if we cannot trust AI, this is what I'm trying to say. Even if it generates code that works, that does not mean that the code is correct, because currently the AI fails at generating always 100% of time correct code, and we need it to be always correct. Otherwise, well, we trust something that fails every 100 queries, and that is just dangerous. So this is basically the point of view I'm coming from. Now, there are things, here I use the example of things not working one time out of 100, but it might be that it's 1 out of 10,000 that it doesn't work. Sorry, I still have a cough, so I'll be pausing from time to time just to cough, not to the microphone. Anyway, so if something happens once in 10,000, I will not be able to show that to you. Yeah, also because this is live, I have, sorry, the cough is terrible today. Yeah, I have no idea at the end what the AI will generate. It might be generating really bad stuff and we will show it live. So I apologize for that. Hopefully AI will be kind to us. Hopefully it will not go like bonkers and generate absolutely weird stuff that shouldn't be shown live. I hope that modern AI models are good enough that we can actually do this live and have a live demo. Is it allergy to AI? Maybe to some extent. By the way, if you have comments or questions, ask them immediately on the chat. And like, you don't have to wait until the end of the session, just ask them immediately. I have the chat open on one of the monitors and I'm looking at it. And it's only like 26 people live, so that's, yeah, like, don't worry about asking questions at all. Now, if you are watching a recording, then there is the Hidden Wiki Discord channel where I'm also at, and I will also, at the end of the talk, link to my Discord server if you want to go there, and if you have other questions, just ask me there. But you can also leave, I guess, YouTube comments. I usually look at them from time to time, but I might look at them in a month. Okay, so what I also want you to have a good understanding of what AI is, or rather, maybe not what AI is, because that you probably know is like neural networks, transformers, blah, 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 right? But rather, how you should think about AI and LLMs in particular. Well, an AI, imagine it like this. It's a parrot. And this parrot was actually locked in a room with programmers for 10 years. It's a really old parrot. It has heard a lot of stuff, and it can basically correctly repeat things which the programmers have discussed. And so that's part of AI. And there's another part, and that's a small boy. The parents of this boy are programmers. And the boy is 4 years old, and basically has heard a lot of discussions about programming from the parents. The parents have taught the child some stuff as well. So he thinks he knows everything about programming that there is to know, because he has 4 years, right? So, and he can probably write some program. The parrot can also probably say code which is going to run. Now, if you lock them in a box and add a REST API to that, this is what modern LLMs are, and this is how we should think about them. Now, the question here is, hey, but like, can they actually generate correct code? Well, they can, and they can be really useful. And at the same time, we have to note that even a broken clock is right twice during the day. So even if you'd be, always returning the same answer, you might stumble on a question for which that answer is actually correct. So yeah, AI is useful, but at the end of the day, AI is heuristics. So it will be sometimes wrong, it will be sometimes right. But yeah, like, think about it like this and ask yourself, hey, the thing which ChatGPT just told me, or Cursor just generated for me, how sure am I that this is actually correct? Okay, with this being said, let's switch to reviewing code generated by AI, and I will be helping myself with this bingo card. So bingo works like this, but every time I generate some code and I review it, I will have some reactions, or I will find some stuff. And once I do that, I will basically mark, for example, if AI generates something weird, I will just like do this, like move, like mark the field which was, which is reasonable to mark in a given case. I can mark more than one field, and to get a bingo, I need to get a line of 5. It can be a horizontal line, it can be a vertical line, it can be like go across, like in this example. So yeah, this should make it a little bit more fun. Let's, AI is even here trying to beautify my slide, but my slide is already beautiful. See, AI is wrong. We already found that AI is wrong because it suggests my slide needs some beautifying. Cool. So I have some ideas what to generate. And I will be using a couple of tools. I will be using ChatGPT 5.2. I will be using OpenRouter. OpenRouter basically allows me to give the same query to multiple models. For example, it actually has a lot of models. It's like a chat which aggregates all chats. It's the mother of all chats, if you will. And I can like use it to query ChatGPT as well as like, this is what I'm scrolling through. This is the list of models which it has. But I can just go to the chat and tell it, hey, like use best coding models, and it adds Claude Sonnet 4.5, Gemini 2.5 Pro, Grok Code Fast 1, and GPT-5. Okay, and apart from that, I will be also using this little Python script. This little Python script is what it does. It uses OpenAI's API, sorry, OpenRouter's API, and which allows me to just send it some request and tell it what model to use. For example, hey, use Grok, and how many times I want it to generate the response, because generating just one response is, well, models have something called temperature, right? Which makes the reply different every time. And this makes sense, a lot of sense, to actually have a model which can generate to the same question different answers every time. Even if we would decrease the temperature due to some architecture reasons, models might still not generate always the same answer. They might still have a little bit of randomness. But well, when programmers are using ChatGPT and so on, they usually are not disabling the temperature. They are allowing it to actually like be the default. And if therefore the answer to a question is random, it makes sense to get, for example, 100 answers. And if we want to get 100 answers, if we get 100 answers, we can review and say, oh, actually the AI was right in all 100 cases. Obviously, that doesn't mean it's right in 100% of times. It just means that in the sample of 100, which we had generated, it actually was right. It might be wrong in the next query, which we would never ask, but it might actually be incorrect. This is actually, the script is threaded. It will execute 10 queries at the same time just to make it a little bit faster, because the models, so it's like this. Old ChatGPT, like 3.5, that was just a simple model. You send it a query and you get a response. These models like Grok Code Fast, or even more, Claude Sonnet and so on, why did you remove my models? These models here are usually thinking. And by thinking, what it means is more like a set of agents which are reasoning, trying to make a plan, and then trying to double check the answers which they generated and so on. So it's like you send one question, but you actually get like this whole discussion is happening between agents, and then you just get one reply. So it takes time, I'm trying to say. It's also like, this isn't free, neither is this ChatGPT. In OpenRouter, I've put, I think, $50 in it. So yeah, like it's a little bit less because I was testing some stuff just before the live stream. So we might run out of money depending on how many times and which models do we ask. Or maybe we won't, because $50 is quite a lot for 1 hour of demos. First, a question. I always wanted to ask a thing if AI agent is doing unit tests, other tests, it is given an answer. That answer is the result of tests, or a post-probable result of tests. Okay, so let me try to, or most probable. Okay, so the question, I guess, is, okay, the question, I'm not sure if I understand correctly. Are we assuming that the agent, sorry, are we giving the agent the unit tests, or are we asking the agent to make unit tests? I'm going to give you a moment to write it, and let's start generating, generating some code. So I guess the first thing is, let's confuse or maybe let's start with something semi-simple. Okay, the question is, we are asking the agent to do unit tests. Yeah, yeah. But that's one of the things I'm most afraid of, to let the agent do unit tests. Unless there are like specific, if this is a math library and you ask the agent to actually do unit tests where it has to provide concrete values of calculations, that's not going to go well. I don't expect it to go well at all. We can maybe even test it later on. Okay, so let's, why is it removing my models? Let's test one, start with testing one code. Let's tell it, hey, actually, I think I have it here. Create a Python Flask one file application that takes a math expression from the user, calculates it, and returns the result. So a calculator. We wanted to make a Flask, means it's a web app with a backend in Python Flask. I will be, by the way, switching between languages. I will be using PHP today as well. Maybe some JavaScript will come around, maybe some C, C++, maybe some more Python. Anyway, allow the user to use various math functions from Python's math module and output only code and nothing more. Don't use Markdown, use indent2. Use indent2 because I usually use indenting2 in Python. So let's give it a go. And now all the AIs are processing. And I guess we, speaking of tools, while the AIs are processing, I will also run later Cursor AI to play out a bit with that. There are different approaches on how you can work with code. Okay. And let's create a file which is called maybe app.qi. And we will copy some code here and start going through it. Did any of the models finish? Okay, some models finish. Let's go from the top. Yeah, this the formatting here, maybe I should have allowed it to use, you know what, I'm going to restart it, and I'm going to allow it to actually use Markdown, because this, in this use case, this is not going to go well. So let's reprocess it. You can see that it's reasoning, right? It's not like any more a simple one question, one answer. Perfect. We have some code. I was still writing. Okay. Okay. So let's copy this code. There should be an icon here to copy. And we have code. Let's go through it. And let's see if there are any vulnerabilities. And let's even see if we can run the code. We don't need the Markdown stuff. So what's going on? Let's analyze it. Let's reverse engineer it. We are importing stuff from Flask. This is fine. There is no, you know, the typical invocation here. Like no hashbang, that's okay. It's importing math. It's importing regular expression. Okay, this is getting interesting. Why does it need regular expression? When it inlined, I told it one file. This is fair, but it inlined some HTML with yeah, with some forms, and the result, okay, the result is displayed here, which is fine. This is fine, even if the result would be, I don't know, some XSS, this is fine, because Flask by default should be auto-escaping it. And we will check if it actually is, because it maybe is not auto-escaping it, because the template, this Jinja template, is actually not in a file. And Flask, which by default uses Jinja 2 engine for templating, it actually looks at the extension of a file to determine whether whether to enable auto-escaping or not. Now, what auto-escaping is it's basically you would look at the context that this thing is placed in. Here, it's outside of the tags, which means it's in a technically like between tags. So it would say, yeah, this is a text node, and it would escape it as using HTML entities. If it would be, you know, inside an attribute, it would use a different style of escaping, but here it's just like HTML entities, basically. And it should do it by default, unless it doesn't, which we can also check, because that might be considered already a security vulnerability which is introduced. But this is has to be verified. Okay, then we have this function, which is called save evil. This should be pronounced evil, the same as you pronounced evil, because this function is evil by definition. But perhaps no, this function is not used. Okay, so what's going on? Well, we have we have some allowed names, and allowed names are, it takes from the math module, there's a dictionary. The dictionary in case of Python will contain all the items which are in the module, which includes functions, classes, global variables, and other stuff. And it checks that it only lists stuff which does not start with 2 underscores, which makes sense because these are usually private. I would even start with 1 underscore, but that's fine. We can later take a look what's there. And then it adds ABS, because ABS is not in math, if I remember correctly. Let's launch a console and take a look. Python import math, math.abs. Yeah, there's no ABS here. And it decided that, hey, ABS is actually, which is an absolute value, it's a good function to have. I fully agree. This is a good addition. I'm actually impressed that it figured it out. Okay, then we are running compile. What compile does, it compiles this code into a code object. This is assumed to be Python code. Therefore, we assume that the expression is passed to a Python compiler. And then it digs deep into the names of the code object. Okay, what's going on there? Let's assume we have a function which is called ASDF. And what this function does, it prints hello world maybe. And it maybe does x equals ABS of 42. Okay, and now if we actually look at the code object of this function, to which you get using this dunder code. Dunder is double underscore in Python, by the way. So double underscore code, double underscore, then code, this is the object which it, code names as the the list which it accesses. We will see that the name of global variables are there. So if Python doesn't know that, oh, x is a local variable, it's obviously a local variable, then it goes to a different table, but all the global variables are going to go, the names are going to go to this table. So that means that if the compiler decides, hey, something is actually in the expression, something is actually global, then yeah, it goes to this table. And what it does, it checks if the thing from the name from the name table, whether it's in the allowed names. If it's not in the allowed names, then it says name error, use of name is not allowed. Okay, that's good to know. Otherwise, it evaluates the code. It sets the built-ins to none, so that no global functions are used, and no local functions are used. And well, actually, this is for global, local, doesn't matter anyway. It allows only the allowed names to be used, the allowed functions to be used. So it's a dictionary of functions that can be used. This is interesting. This function is interesting. I think this is the first time I see this approach to sandboxing, because what's happening here is it's trying to run the code provided by the user as Python in a sandbox environment. Now, if you play CTFs, you know that that's usually a bad idea, but we'll see if this one is actually okay or not. And then we declare a route to the default, rather this function index is handling the default route to the website. If the method is post, then it grabs the expression from post. If it's set, then it tries to evaluate the expression. Otherwise, it sets error to the whatever exception is passed here. It sets it to the error variable. Yeah, I know it's not a variable. I know it's actually a name which is attached to an object, but let's not go into that discussion. And then it renders, it says this uses this HTML template. I wanted to say, hey, it's actually telling the render engine that it's going to be HTML, but it does not, which makes it interesting. I don't know, honestly don't know if auto-escaping will or will not be enabled. So let's run it and let's see what we can do with it. Okay, I had a console somewhere. Let's activate the environment. I already have Flask installed here. And let's do Flask run. Okay, and let's go to the application. Okay, let's see if it works at all. So 4 plus 5 is 9. Yeah, but that is absolutely correct. Let's therefore check the code would be useful to see when I'm playing with the application. Therefore, let's move it here and let's move the application here. Let's make it slightly larger so we can see it. Cool. So first thing, let's see XSS, ASDF. It says invalid string line, invalid syntax string line 1. What I want to know is, did you, okay, wait, but actually we can do Control U to see it does escaping. So it does auto escaping. Okay, no XSSs, that's fine. That's okay. Let's see what else we can do here. We know we cannot use names, but a usual way, which by the way is also described on my blog, or rather not even on my blog, on my notes section of my blog, is the usual way to escape from a sandbox like that, which has disallowed a lot of functions, disallowed the built-ins and so on, is to start with a dictionary. Can we create a dictionary? We can create a dictionary. Okay, cool. What else can we do? Can we go to classes? And I'm pretty sure it's going to fail at this point. Yeah, it says use of class is not allowed. Why is it not allowed? Because this class here would go to co-names and therefore is not in the allowed names. What is in the allowed names? Well, we should actually check it, right? So let's check it. Let's print allowed names here. Allowed names, and we are going to do values, no keys. We want just the keys. Okay. So let's just restart the application, do this again, and now we have a nice little list. And having this nice list, let's do create some file. Is there anything interesting here? Math function, copy sign. I have no idea what's copy sign. Let's run Python import, Python import math, copy sign. Okay, it's a built-in function. Thank you. Returns a float. Oh, okay. It just copies the sign. So this is pretty boring. Cosinus, degrees, distance. I didn't know it has a distance. Okay. This looks pretty boring. So I would actually say that this looks pretty secure. Surprisingly, this looks pretty secure. I'm not fully sure it's unhackable, but I'm positively surprised. Honestly, I'm positively surprised. I still wouldn't run this in production. Like, I would not run this specific code in production because in Python, there are better ways to do it. There are actually functions to safely evaluate a mathematical expression. And it could have been used here. Apparently, it's not used here. Giving attacker access to the environment of Python is in general, like using Gynvael, is a bad idea. But yeah, not bad. Do I have a not bad in my bingo? Let's see. Is there anything that I can mark here? I don't think so. So let's leave it at this, and let's look at a different model. This was Cloud Sonnet. Now let's switch to, what do we have here? Gemini. Hello, Gemini. Let's paste it. Let's do. Note that it will be likely highly similar. Or did we look at Gemini before? Is the code, because the code is really similar from Cloud Sonnet, and Gemini, so I'm confused. No, it's different. Okay, it's just that both decided to name it HTML template, which is fine. This code looks super similar, by the way. Anyway, what do we have here? We have allowed names, create. I love it when AI actually generates comments because they are sometimes wrong. So let's analyze it. Create a whitelist of allowed functions and constants from the math module. This is a security measure to prevent execution of arbitrary code via evil. Okay, and it does the same thing. And it has like a safe dictionary of functions from the math module. Okay, now what does it do next? And this is where I already see a vulnerability. Here, use a safe dictionary for the evil context. Built-ins is set to none to restrict access to built-in functions. And then it just runs the expression which we give it. And then it runs the safe dict, like uses the safe dict as a list of functions which can be used. Okay, let's run it. So it basically skipped the step with checking if codenames are actually. Oh, okay, this is my mistake. I'm not blaming the AI for using Markdown. That's okay. Let's restart it. No, don't do it. Okay, now it looks a little bit different. It actually even says what functions are available. So now let's do what I did before. Class, calculate. Oh, it actually works. Okay, therefore base. Then in base, so it's like this. This is the class of this. This is an instance of a dictionary. The class of an instance of a dictionary is, of course, dictionary, dict. The base of that class, which is the mother class, it's going to be I think it's called an object in Python, which is basically the mother of all classes. Therefore, every class in Python will inherit from that class. So if we do subclasses, now what's subclasses? If you look inside base, there is no subclasses. It's a secret field which actually exists and which will gives you access to a list of all classes. And as you can see, we suddenly have access to quite a lot of classes which are here, which is a little bit scary. For example, do we have subprocess here? No, we don't have subprocess. Do we have anything interesting? popen? We don't have popen here. Do we have OS? No, because OS isn't a class, that's a module. But that's okay. Now, this is already a vulnerability, because now what would happen normally is you would find one of the modules, for example, warning, catch warning, one of the classes. Do we have that one? Oh, we have that one, which if we go there, it actually has a field called .module, which has built-ins again. So we get access to built-ins, which were restricted for us. And if we get access to built-ins, well, we get access to import. And if we get access to import, we can import OS. And if we import OS, we can run system. So yeah, let's maybe try it. But the thing is, but to try it, what we have to do is we have to figure out on what index is actually that class, because it's a little bit, yeah, there are like quite a lot of stuff here. So what we have to do is we have to kind of copy this. Okay, let's do this. Python x is equal to, do you want to paste this many characters? Yes, now I'm going to split it by a comma. And now I need to do like, let's do it like this. I for y for iy in enumerate this if in y is what was the name of that again? I'm sorry, warnings something something, warnings catch warnings. So if catch warnings is in y. Okay, this is the index of that class. So let's go back to our page. Let's do this and let's grab this 2021. It refused because obviously I have it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, it's this one. Okay, so now let's see if it has underscore module. It does not. Did they remove it? That's amazing. No, because I have to actually instantiate the class. There are some questions. I'm going to take a look in a moment. The screen is frozen. Are you joking? Okay, let's do it like this. Stop sharing and reshare again. And now, okay. Can you see the screen now? Okay, it was fine. Just in case, doing it again. Okay, this is, let me finish this one and I'm going to look at questions. Okay, so we get access to module, and if we have access to module, we have access to built-ins. Do we have access to built-ins? We do. And if we have access to this, we have access to import. And if we have access to import, we can import OS. And if we can do this, we can do call system, I don't know, like ID, for example, to get the, okay, it doesn't have import. Why doesn't the built-ins have import? That's interesting. That's already interesting. That's okay. That's still exploitable, maybe not the same way. Let's go back to built-ins. Let's take a look what's here. There is still quite a lot of things here which I could potentially use. Let's look for import. We have import. Why does it say there is no import? Because this is a dictionary, of course. How silly of me. Yeah, now we have access to import. And we import OS, and we do system, and we do ID. Now, this will not run the ID here so that we can see the result. It will actually output the ID here. But, well, we did get code execution, so yeah, this is a vulnerability. We have actually exploited it. So let's go here. First of all, it's a security bug. Then, apart from it being a security bug, can I actually make it a little bigger? Probably no. Apart from it being a security bug, it's it thinks it's secure. Like it has added comments, which we saw, right? Use a safe dictionary to restrict it. Like, yeah, create a whitelist of allowed function. This is a security measure to prevent execution. Well, you haven't prevented anything, dear AI. So yeah, we have to do. It thinks it's secure as well. Is there anything else here? Okay. I think everything else is, well, questionable practice. Of course, it's a questionable practice to even use eval. So let's use it. And yeah, we can also get you tried for free because it did try to secure it, it just failed. Okay, so let's go through the questions and then let's go to the next analysis. I saw there were a couple of questions already. So okay, oh yeah. That's a good comment from Monica. Let's go back to the previous code, not this one, but the previous we analyzed, because there was, this one was from Gemini, and this one was from Claude. It imported RE. Why did it import RE? I don't think it used, oh, no. Okay, let me copy the code again. Sorry, I can just click here, I forgot. So let's copy the code again. Let's paste it to notes, and let's look for RE. Where's RE used? RE, sorry, I need to turn off regular expressions. It's not using RE anyway, it's just importing RE. So, okay, how do we call it, chat? Is it like, is it a hallucination, or is it like, well, I guess it's a hallucination. Do I have a hallucination here? Maybe where did you get that from? Yeah, let's keep it at that. It's a good point. Like, why did it even use that? Let's continue. Okay. The question is like, what about identification of AI-generated code in large code base? Excessive use of emoticons and very detailed comments are two of the more obvious signatures. Can you name other? Okay. Yeah. good question, because you can change the behavior of how the code is generated pretty easily. And furthermore, you can, but you can tell it don't generate comments, right? Like I even have here, I said no comments because this is usually what I add. Like I tell it, hey, don't generate comments, because you're just misleading yourself when generating the comments. And also for smiley faces and so on, like it differs between models, what will they generate. And because there are like so many models, I would be really, really careful to try to attribute, like look at the code and attribute, hey, this was generated by AI. I don't think it's possible to do with any degree of certainty from this perspective. What you can probably do is when you have like a programmer who is writing code in one style, and like, every programmer uses like their own favorite functions, their favorite ways to do things, favorite code patterns, and so on. And suddenly you see that programmer being a little bit more effective and using totally different patterns. Then, yeah, the question is, hey, are you actually using AI to do the coding? But that's about it. I don't think there's a reasonable way right now to otherwise find AI-generated code. And we have to be careful about like turning this to become a witch hunt. Like it's already with, like, for example, in writing, if you write articles and so on, people point to the character like minus and the long minus. This is a short minus and a long minus, also known as pause, half pause, full pause, and so on. And well, if you are actually, for example, like me, an editor in some Zines, right? Well, I have this bound to my keyboard. And I am using it because it's grammatically correct to use it. Yet I did see people on the internet saying, hey, like, why are you using it? Are you an AI or a bot? So be careful about witch hunts. And don't look too deep into what AI generates. I don't think it's going to be possible in the future also to like just pinpoint which code was generated by AI, unless you have other evidence of that. Okay, added something not requested. Well, so we can maybe go for that with RE, import RE, but I'm going to leave that for now. Okay, so let's take a really quick look at the code from Grok. Let's take a look what Grok did. And let's just paste it here. Let's remove Markdown. Okay, it gets the expression. It does, it actually does what I said, but might be a better idea. It doesn't filter by start with 2 underscores, it filters by just 1 underscore, but apparently 2 underscores for this module work as well. When it added abs, min, max, that's okay. And yeah, this is vulnerable as well. Same vulnerability. And when it returns, it doesn't, there's no, well, okay, but it doesn't have to be any auto escaping here. But how does this result, what happens to the result? It returns, is this an XSS? I'm sorry, is this an XSS? Let's run it. Okay, so okay. Let's, I don't know, do h1 ASDF, tell me what invalid syntax, line, okay. This is fine. Now let's go to, can I actually go back here? Let's go here. And here we do, no, we don't have to do it. We can just do this h1 ASDF. Yeah, okay. Hello. Script alert. Let's go with this one, script. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Grok somehow managed to introduce yet another security bug in that simple piece of code. Congratulations, Grok. So, okay, then this one is kind of what's going on here. Have you heard of formatting, GPT-5? Okay, it heard of formatting, but it added it here. Okay, Let's look at the code which was generated by GPT-5. Okay, so it does the same thing as others here. Oh, it actually is allowed binary operations from AST module. Wow, it's actually doing AST validation. This is a full-blown CTF task now. Okay, what's this AST stuff? So long story short, when you're compiling a program, like all the operations and so on are being parsed and like tokenized, parsed, and changed into a tree, an abstract syntax tree to be more exact, AST. And in Python, what you can do is you can actually do tell there's a module to give you that tree of a program. So I can give it AST parse and let's do 1 + 2. It's going to compile it. Sorry, optimize it. So I don't want that, I want this. Oh, okay. And yeah, it basically created a module. And when we start, if we would start going inside that module, it's going to have their module. It's going to have something called body, I think. And in that body, there's a list of expressions. And if we look at the expressions, so let's look at the first object. Every an expression is going to have I guess it's a value. Yeah. And in this value, we have a binary operation and blah, blah, blah. Let's look at the slides for a moment. I'm going to make a quick new slide. What we get from that expression, so we initially have this I + E + C, but we get a tree from it, which looks like this. Okay. So here we are going to get a binary operation plus. Let me quickly do this. 24. Okay, maybe that's a little bit more visible. So we have this operation plus here, and we are going to add A to the result of adding B and C. And this is actually a tree. So let's make the lines. Yeah, and this is an abstract syntax tree basically created from that expression. Let's make the lines a little bit larger. You have this expression, then you have this operation. The operation has actually 2 operands on the left, on the right. This is on the left, on the right, there's a result of this. Therefore, there is this as well, this going down the tree, you have another node, addition, where you have 2 variables in this case. And this is the AST. In Python, you have really easy access to that. And what the code is doing, apparently, is it walks through that AST, it validates it, and it looks if only the allowed operands are used. So, for example, the allowed operands are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo, which is the remainder from division, power, which is 2 asterisks, and floor division, which is 2 slashes. And also unary operations, which it allows. So it doesn't allow, for example, to do any AND or binary operations. And here it's changing the signs basically, an unary operation. Now it goes deep into the tree. If we look here, it goes recursively into the tree to traverse left, right for the operands inside the body and so on. And it checks if the given operand is in allowed operations. And if it's not, then it throws a value error. So for example, what I'm guessing is trying to do is trying to forbid call. Forbid import is its own thing, and so on. Even forbidding call is already interesting. So yeah, this is not a bad approach. You don't have to do that. There are functions that do this automatically in Python for you, and you don't really have to do that. Let's take a look what's going on here with this HTML. Does it use render template? It does use it, so it will have auto-escaping. So there's no XSS here at least. And yeah, that's honestly not bad. not the way I would do it, because it's too risky. It's still a CTF task because it might have failed. This is like, pretty dense code. It might have missed something. And yeah, not a bad approach. I wouldn't run it on production. I would do it a different way. But yeah, maybe. Let's take a quick look. Do we have something here? Well, it works, but meh. Yeah, let's go with this. It works, but yeah, this isn't the method you want to use on production. It's still not sandboxed enough, but I'm impressed that it actually went this way. Okay, so that was the last one. Now what I want to do is I want to go back to Grok for a moment. Dear Grok, can you actually fix this bug? Is it still thinking? Don't tell me it's still thinking. Okay, I don't care about your reasoning. Can I reply here? But I want to reply only to Grok. Click. Okay, and memory 8, that's okay. Fix the bug. Maybe there's a security bug there. Can you spot it? Let's see if it works. Okay, the user is pointing out a security bug in the code. So I am. Okay. The security bug is the use of eval for evaluating user input. Yeah, basically, yeah. Even with restricted, yes, absolutely. This allows potential exploitation via attribute chain of literal objects and so on. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, if you're wondering how do you find these weird like chains of like, oh, you need to enter this object, that object, and so on, like you automate it, because at the end of the day, these objects make a graph, right? So what you have to do is you have to start at the graph where a dictionary is, and you have to find a path between that dictionary and a function like system or like import. And if you find that path, well, you can convert it back to a chain like that. If you're interested about that, like, let me know. I have a script written to do that. Okay, to mitigate evil, use a safe library like AST evil num expression for math expression. Yeah, that's not bad. Which is cool. Yeah. But what about the second bug? What about the second security bug in the code? Because it still has the XSS in the code, right? So let's see if it actually finds the second one. I'm not looking at the right code. Assessing XSS risk. Okay, it's thinking about in the right direction. Well, thinking. It's calculating math in the right direction, I probably should say. Okay, collapse reasoning. Let's do that. Yeah, it has a reflected XSS. Not bad. Okay, I'm pretty impressed, but it actually found it. It shouldn't generate the code with a bug, but it actually found the bug, which is fine. Cool. Moving on. Let's move to some other code in that case. What about the third bug? Okay, let's do it. What about the third bug? I've actually run some tests, but that was like I don't know, a year and something ago, and I always told the model, "Hey, there's a security bug," like 3 times, and even if there was no bug, sometimes after I told it, "Hey, there's a bug," it would actually introduce a bug because it was trying to fix a non-existing bug. So you kind of have to, yeah, cross-site request forgery. That is true. There is a cross-site request forgery. Honestly, I wouldn't even bother fixing that one. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Cool. Let's switch to writing a different thing in that case. Let's switch to, what do we want to? Okay, let's go with this prompt. So I'm going to make a new chat. I'm going to add, yeah, let's add, like, let's still use the best coding model. The prompt is, write a function in Python that receives an integer. Let's change Python to something else, JavaScript. JavaScript, but receives an integer and writes even for odd numbers and odd for even numbers. So I twisted it but it's supposed to write even for odd numbers, which is weird, but okay, it should be able to do it. Name of a function, real parity. And let's see what it does. On top of that, while it's generating, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also give ChatGPT instant. Yeah, let's give ChatGPT the same code and let's see what it does. Okay, let's see. Claude. We have, I'm going to actually copy paste it. We can close this one. Let's open a file with JS extension, I guess. So Sable ASDF.js. Okay. If the restaurant division num by 2 is actually 0, then it's odd. Yeah, this is incorrect, but this is what we wanted. Now, here's the first issue. What I told it, write a function in JavaScript that receives an integer and writes, keyword writes. Did it write? No, it returned. So it misunderstood the instruction. I didn't tell it to return, I told it to write. What does it mean write in case of JavaScript, you might ask? Well, if it would write it out to the console log, or it would do document write, I would say, yeah, that's writing out. But this is returning, this isn't writing. So this goes to bingo, and we get misunderstood the task. Like, yeah, this is not what you were supposed to do. Okay, let's look at this one. This one generated identical code. The code is also correct, which is fine. We get like even another code from the same model from Sonnet, and Sonnet says, is this correct? This is correct, so that's fine, but it also returns. So yeah, it misunderstood what I mean by write. What should happen, it should maybe ask me like, hey, like, what do you mean by write? Like write where? It's JavaScript, right? But yeah, it just ignored me. Let's copy this one here. Okay, and here we get, wow, we get comments, a lot of comments. I should add no comments next time. If it's integer, why does it assume it's an integer, by the way? It can be anything, but okay, we told it, hey, write a function that takes an integer, so let's assume that the color is responsible for that. Here, yeah, it misunderstood again as well. So too bad. Then we have, oh, it also outputted this short version. We have Grok. Grok understood it. Yeah, console log, thank you. And GPT-5. GPT-5 here actually returned a different function. It both returned, and yeah, that's a safe approach. Write it out. I told wrote it out, and return it. That's fair. That's okay. I don't mind it. Yeah, sure. Too bad neither of these functions actually double-checked, but I gave it an integer. But okay, let's leave it. I'm not going to be that picky. Okay, so this isn't bad. It just allowed us to like mark misunderstood the task. Like, yeah, this is not what we wanted. I guess we could go for program doesn't work as intended as well, but that's a little bit too small of a function. So let's go with the next prompt. I'm going to check if there are any questions. I would ask for an improvement. Yeah, I think it would actually like fix the code. For example, here we can go with who are going to bother. Let's bother GPT. And let's tell GPT like I said, like fix the code. Let's just say fix the code, and let's see what it does. Obviously, the more detailed instruction you give it, the better results you will receive. So, yeah. Let's see what it does. Okay, it's thinking, it's thinking. Okay, but I guess it's still, oh yeah, now it logs. So it did fix the code. It did some other fixes. Not terrible. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. So let's leave it at that. If you add line ask necessary questions before coding, it might have asked something. So here's the thing. Where I stand, it's like this. The users which are going to use it for coding, there are like basically a couple of groups, right? Like one group is going to be people who know how AI works, and they basically know all the techniques for prompt engineering, and they know how to make the model like be like, know the techniques like train of thought and blah, 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 and know how to prompt it correctly, tell the model, hey, ask the questions and so on. I'm not worried too much about them. I'm more worried about people who will just like open ChatGPT and tell it, write me the code, copy paste it, and run it on production. So from my point of view, the AI should always, especially maybe for the second group, it should generate secure code and correct code, not incorrect one or vulnerable one. So yes, there are techniques to make it better, but they should be incorporated in the model itself, or like at least in the interface or the agent system or whatever is running underneath. Okay, let's see how much money I burned. Yeah, we can do that. For now, it's going to be nothing. Yeah, it's like 20 cents. So now let's tell it a little bit something more funny. And I'm going to tell it this thing. I want to create a simple website in PHP. I wanted to have a main template in index PHP, and then I want to have a page query parameter which selects which subpage to render in the template. The subpages would be about PHP, contact PHP, services PHP, files PHP. So what we have basically on PageTout, right? Like if you go to PageTout, we have basically page equals writing PHP or like issues PHP, and then it opens that specific page. So I basically want to create something like that. And I wanted like show me only the code and nothing more, no comments, no descriptions, just the code. And I'm going to use my script to actually run it, like generate it multiple times. So let's go here, and blah, 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 here. Let's replace this. Okay, and which model are we going to bother? Let's grab maybe 10 of each. So let's start with Grok. I need a new console for this. I need to activate the environment, and I need to do -go UI. Wait, I'm in the wrong directory. Sorry about that. There we go. -go UI, and let's just like copy it to. This is Grok, right? So Grok PHP. Is thread count not defined because I was like just before like we started the call, I was moving this. Okay, it takes I think around a minute to generate 10 pieces. So okay, so while this runs, let's grab the same prompt and let's go to Open Router. Let's make a new chat and add best role-playing models. Let's have fun, okay? And let's tell it to generate code. Okay, so it generates the code. I'm not sure what it's going to role-play as, but okay. How is this generation going? This is the wrong console. Okay, so it generated something. Let's take a look. Okay, we have, it has generated for Grok. Let's generate for, I wonder if you can enter my chat room if you retype this. Okay, let's go to models and let's go for Gemini Pro. Oh, Gemini 3. Let's go for Gemini 3. So I need to copy the model name. That's why I came here. So go change the model to Gemini 3 Pro. This is starting to be a little bit more expensive. Gemini 3.php. I'm using 10, generating only 10, because otherwise it would take around, I think, 10 minutes. Okay, let's see what code we got. From DeepSeek, we got, okay, so this isn't, sorry, let me copy it to the console so we can actually see it. Let's make a file called asdf.php. Okay, so what we get is we pass the parameter through get. If get is not set, it goes to home. Okay. If it is set, it's going to be this value. Then I have valid pages, and it can be about, contact, services, files, and home. If something is not in the array, if like what I pasted, like in the query is not in the array, I checked this function before the live stream. It's actually correct, sadly. And yeah, if it's not here, then it sets the page, resets the page to home, and then it opens some header PHP. Yeah, I guess it's fair to assume there's a header PHP, there's a footer PHP, and then it opens page.php. Now, question number 1. What home? Where did it get the home from? I never told it to make a page which is called home. Or like about contract, yeah, like that's it, right? Yeah, so okay. Hello, bingo. Yeah, another one. Where did you get that from? And added something not requested. I didn't request a home subpage. Anything else? Are there any comments here? No comments. So I think that's about it. Okay. But apart from that, this should be secure, actually. I think it's fine. I don't think I could hack it. So yeah, not bad. Even though that home is a little bit funny. Now, let's see if I have to start generating. Okay, Gemini has finished. So let's go through for GPT 5 Pro, maybe. Let's go for this one. And then once it finishes, we're going to review the code if there are any issues. So this one is GPT 5 Pro PHP. Okay. And let's go back to OpenRouter. This was DeepSeek, which, yeah, that was fine. Then we have Gemini 2.5 Flash. Okay, Flash was not the best model I ever saw. So, yeah, I expect Kirby Dragons, but maybe it's going to be fine. Same pattern. It didn't add any home. This is fine. This is fine. And it even added if file exists. Then it includes it. Otherwise, it says no. No, this is fine. This code is fine. What the problem would be if it wouldn't do this check and it would directly allow me to include a file on the disk. If it would allow me to include a file on the disk, this usually ends in remote code execution. In this case, it would end in remote code execution on older PHP configurations. Modern PHP configurations should have this option disabled. But even without it, it's still pretty likely or reasonable to expect this to be exploitable to arbitrary code execution, even if the code has to be sent to the server somehow. So yeah, this isn't bad. Okay, Flash, yeah. There we go. There we go. Hello, Minstrel. So yeah, this is exactly what I said. This is how you get code execution, even if arbitrary code execution. It does not verify. It somehow got home. It absolutely didn't verify that like the page, the sub page, is one of the sub pages I told it to open. So yeah, this is ignored instructions, as you say on the chat. Absolutely, it absolutely ignored the instructions. Here, let's go. And okay, program doesn't work as intended. Well, it actually would work as intended, so I cannot mark that. We have no bingo yet. I don't think it made a typo. It looks okay. So yeah, this is terrible. This is like a vulnerability. Absolutely. You can get a path traversal here, right? You can do like stuff like this. And then the question becomes, can you upload a PHP file, a file with PHP extension? If you can upload a file with a PHP extension anywhere on the disk with some other features of this service, another service, whatever gets it on the server in a readable location, then you can just like point to it and get code execution. If it wouldn't add this PHP extension, it would be even easier, because the trick is to point to Apache logs, for example, and then you send a request, an HTTP request, which has the payload, PHP payload there. And then you point it to the logs, and it happily executes the logs as PHP, including your payload. And actually, if you're wondering, like, hey, but how can you squeeze a web shell or anything like that in the logs, right? That would have to be a long and convoluted query. That's not the case at all. The shortest payload in PHP is like this: get 0, get 1. And if you set, like, you call the page and you set 0 to system and 1 to, I don't know, like curl something, blah, 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 it would execute that command. So yeah, it's pretty easy to like squeeze this, or like, let's go even a little bit further and do this into a file on a server, into some log file. Okay. So we have now generated from GPT and Gemini more of the codes. Let's see how they did. Let's start with going from Grok. This looks fine. I'm going to go pretty fast because the code is going to be almost identical in all cases. It generated some additional template, I guess, that's fine. Then this is fine. Page not found, this is fine. Then we have here, it also looks fine. Yeah, there we go. No, this is still the same code. I was like, hey, okay, this is the same problem, but no, actually it verified the page here, and if the page was not in the allowed pages, it would set it to about, which is okay. That's okay, unfortunately. This looks okay. Kind of funny, but it like, sometimes it uses brackets, sometimes it doesn't. It's a little bit undecisive between queries, but that's okay. Does it look fine? Yeah, it looks fine. It's also undecisive where to put this check. Okay, if it's set and something, then get, otherwise get about. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there's a better way to test it. So let's use it than like looking through all of it. The way we can test it, we can just run it. So let's create a file, which is called like php info.php. And here we are going to have php info, because php info is really noisy. And now let's create a server, an HTTP server here. Okay, and let's run grok php. So we do this, but the port is this one, grok php. Okay, and now let's set the page to php info. And let's see if we see php info somewhere. We don't. And there aren't too many of, oh, there's only 10, that's fine. So yeah, it didn't, sorry about that. We can set it to php info.php as well, just to check, but no, this is fine. Let's check it for Gemini. I'm a little bit worried of like running the code before looking at it. So let's go for Gemini, like a quick look. What does it do here? Check if files exist, the same pattern. Wow, this is huge. What's going on here? Okay, if it's not in the array, it says page.found. If it's unset or null, actually, then it goes here to welcome. If file, yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this one, but it's fine because it checked it on the whitelist already. then no XSS could squeeze here. Otherwise, PHP does no auto-escaping. And if we would actually be able to control this, this could be an XSS. So, okay, this is fine. I'm just basically looking now at if there's any other interesting patterns which is using, but it's not using any other interesting pattern. The most interesting, I guess, was that error handling with a lot of going deep into ifs. Copy date, okay. Okay. Yeah, but it seems that for this one, AI is generating pretty decent code. Now, I actually checked it before our meeting today as well, and I ran it on like 100 exercises, and it was fine as well. It was not fine the last time I checked it. So this looks actually fine. We can do H1, or maybe let's do now script won't work here. So let's do ASDF. ASDF is not found, so this is okay. And let's quickly look at GPT-5. This is the last one. Oh, what is going on here? I like it. I really like it. What it has done here. It created a dictionary for each name of the subpage, and in that dictionary we have another dictionary with the specified file. So what this AI did, it detached the input, the user's input, from what is passed to include. This is the safest way to do it. Nice. I don't know why I did the string too lower, though, and this conversion to string, but yeah, I guess you can't have everything. This code is pretty complicated. Like, why did it do this, for example? What's going on here is, normally if you do include something and that something outputs, like it's just HTML file, for example, it would immediately be sent out to the user, to the browser. Now, if you do obstart, what this does is it captures the output of whatever happens next until calling this function. Therefore, they are not sending it to the user, they are getting it to the body variable. And I guess at the end, we are going to just output this body somewhere here. There we go. This is a pretty complex code, I have to admit. They even have an escape function, which is, where is it used? Because that is a really interesting question. It's used for the title, but it's used for the title. That's not terrible. It's used here as well, and it's used here. What options were given there? Quotes and substitute. Yeah. That's the most advanced code which we saw generated for this specific exercise, or rather prompt. It does look correct. The problem I have with it is that because there's so much code, it would require a little bit deeper review to actually decide if it's always correct. Okay, let's run it. GPT-5 Pro. What did I do wrong? It's, wait, what? Strict, okay. Yeah, that's okay. Because I'm trying to run all the scripts at the same time, it complains that it cannot do this declare thingy, which should be at the beginning of the script. So let's just remove it until the end of the line. Click OK, and we just replace it with nothing. It still complains about something. Yeah, okay. So we cannot run it at the same time because it actually declares functions. And because it declares functions, PHP does not allow function redeclaration. And because it doesn't allow function redeclaration, wait, how many functions are there? Only 4. 2 H functions and 2 E functions. So yeah, I guess we could just rename the functions and check if it actually works. I'm quite curious. But I'm a little bit worried I'm going to miss some invocation of the function. On the flip side, these functions, I guess, do the same thing. So I don't need this. Okay, let's name this one to H. I'm not a fan of how it does escaping, not gonna lie, but okay. First, something. Okay, it's weird. 256. Okay, where do we have our function declaration of H? Oh, there are 3 H's. Okay, I thought there were only 2. My bad. So let's here change it to HX. And what is it called? It's called here HX. Checks. Like this code looks pretty similar in all cases, doesn't it? Again. Okay, white screen of death. Why do we get a white screen of death? Call to undefined function E on line 42 because I cannot code apparently. Okay. Okay. 500 error. 404. Okay. So something works. Page equal PHP info. Yeah, it didn't run my PHP info as expected. I also don't expect there to be an XSS here. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I would say it's got better than it was last year. Let's do one more experiment, I would say. So let's go remove the models, make a new chat actually, get the best coding model in, and let's actually, let's do it differently. Let's do a different experiment. Let's actually run Cursor AI. So let's go to this directory and we do cursor. Okay, this is going to spam the console a lot, so I'm just going to move it. Are there any questions in the meantime? Okay, so there's a question. And it's a good question. Let me quickly answer it. PHP info here. Why is there no this at the end of a file? Do you see the screen, by the way, or is it frozen for you? It might be frozen, right? Yeah, okay, let me restart it. Okay, there we go. So about this, like, why did I create a PHP info file without this? Now, the answer is it's not needed. Furthermore, it's even better if you don't put it. Why? Because if you don't put it, all the white characters here, like tabs, spaces, blah, 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 are treated as part of a PHP script and are ignored. If I would add this here, this is going to be sent to the user. I am not 100% sure if PHP Engine still does it. Admittedly, a lot of my knowledge might be outdated because, well, it has been some time since I did a lot of stuff in PHP. So maybe they fixed it. If they didn't fix it, well, that would still go to the user. And as such, yeah, I don't think, like, I prefer to not give that ending of the file at the end. Okay, so we have, sorry, let's remove Sublime. We have Cursor AI, and yeah, we have, I'm in the right directory. Okay, so let's create an agent, and let's tell it, I probably should not be displaying the key here. Okay, let's tell it to maybe do, is it frozen again? Wow. That's amazing. Let's try it again then. Stop sharing. Entire screen. Sure, okay. What about now? Now it's something it's not like Linux, it's something with Google Meet, honestly, because like I do, like 4-hour live streams and trainings weekly, basically, and I never had this problem with StreamYard, for example, or OBS. This is a Google Meet issue. Anyway, let's tell it to, I guess we can remove these files. Can we remove this file? Yes, move to trash. And this one too. Delete, move to trash. Perfect. So let's tell the agent to write some code for us. What are we going to tell it to write for us? You should see the screen now, honestly, but it does break. Okay. You know what we can do? I can just rejoin and maybe it will work. So let's do it again. Okay, show my screen. Can you see my screen now? Just restart, yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, let's create code that, what? Oh, I know what we are going to do. Let's go for a little bit of C. In C language, indent 2, don't generate comments. Yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of using my theme everywhere. Right, I'm an agent mode, yeah. Okay, right. By the way, can we make it a little bit bigger? We can. Wow, there's some early space left for the code. Write an ini parser library and a test suite. So a little bit more code this time. An ini parser, like ini, is a really simple format for configuration files. It looks like this. While it's generating the code, I guess I can quickly show you. It has sections, it has comments, and it has key equal value. And that's it. Like, it's all the syntax you have in an ini file. Windows like 3.1 onwards used it until the Windows registry became the thing, and then it was used a little bit here and there. I think it's still used for like some drivers stuff. It's also used in some other applications. So it didn't fully die, but yeah, it's not fully utilized. Okay, so here it's generating C code, and we are going to just look for a couple of vulnerabilities. It's still generating. And while it's generating, I'm going to give another query for in Python to these models. And I'm going to tell them, hey, listen, generate a function in Python that is supposed to get a string and check if it's a number that uses a number, yeah, something that uses only these digits. And let's see if it can do it correctly. And let them generate. Let's see if this one finished. It's generating quite a lot of files. Okay, no, don't install extensions. It wants to compile it. No compiling. Just creating code, no compiling. Okay, cool. It generated stuff. Keep all. And we can hide the agent. Let's take a look at what we got. I'm especially interested in the parser. So it decided to do hand parsing in C. There are a couple of ways to do parsing in C. You can use the hand parsing way, as in character by character, and you can also use scanf, a function string scan formatted, which has quite really nice, maybe not fully regex-like, but approaching regex capabilities for parsing. And it decided to do it manually. What we can already see here is that it's allocating a lot of memory dynamically. It uses some length checks, which is, yeah, this doesn't look terrible on the first, just looking at it, doesn't look absolutely terrible. So what functions do we have? We have parse file, ini parse string. Oh, I can give it a string or a file. Okay, that's fine. I have to free this file. This is a nice interface, a pretty typical object-oriented interface, even if you could argue that like C isn't really an object-oriented programming language. It doesn't have, the syntax for object-oriented programming. You still can program like in an object-oriented way in C, and this is what it has done. So I don't mind that at all. Okay. Did it generate any comment? Because I need it for the bingo card, but I don't think it actually generated any comment. It generated a test parser, which is nice. Now, one thing has to be said, that this example, the same as the example with pages I gave you before, is actually, these are common things. There are a lot of INI parsers. There are a lot of PHP pages which do this, like page equals something, include blah, blah, blah stuff. So these are common problems. Therefore, if I would ask it to parse like an unknown format where I would give it a specification, it might be a little bit different. Okay, let's go quickly analyze where does the parsing start? So it says something like ini parse file. It opens the file. It goes to the end of the file. It checks what is the size of that file. It goes to the beginning. So this is the way you get string length, sorry, the file length in C without just by using the file interface. What I don't like, it's okay. This is okay-ish, I would say. So let's keep it like this. Then it allocates it, and it reads the content of a file. This size, which it first checked. So it went to the last character of a file, and it asked, like, hey, where is this read cursor at? And, well, it was at the last location, which gives you the size of a file. So this is fine. And long here is a little bit iffy. Long is iffy because on Linux, long is 64-bit. On Windows, there's a different variable type model, and long is 32-bit. So, okay, if the file would be 2 GB on Windows, we already have a problem here, because this would be a negative number. So we have a negative number, we add 1 to it, we get 0. So this would allocate 0, and then we would read here, this negative number would be again changed to a positive number because every on this parameter actually accepts a size t. It should be, here it shows, but size t. Size t is unsigned. So we have like, here we have, for example, minus 2 billion something, blah, blah, blah. And here, this gets cast into a positive number, into an unsigned number, which means it will become 2 billion something, blah, 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 as a positive number, which just means read the file until the end, basically. But we allocated here, if we select the right number, we allocated 0 bytes. When you call malloc with 0 bytes, you don't really allocate 0 bytes because it has a minimum value that it respects. It will usually, if anything, like if it gets a value which is lower than, I think, 32 bytes, it will allocate a 32-byte buffer anyway. So it would allocate a 32-byte buffer. Malloc 0, by the way, has to, that's the difference between C and C++. Malloc 0 on C++ has to return a buffer, like an address in memory. In C, in older versions, it didn't have to. I think it has to now. But, so it cannot return, it will not return a null. It would allocate like usually around like 32 bytes, maybe 64 bytes, and it would return an address, and then we read 2 GB into that address, and this is a heap overflow, which will likely just crash the application. Unless there are other ways to make the application not crash. So yeah, this is a vulnerability on Windows. It's not a vulnerability on Linux. It's not exploitable on Linux in the same way because this would be 64-bit. So, and if it's 64-bit, you just cannot create a file large enough. Or can you? No, because the file would have to be 2 to the power of 63 in size. And even if you use tricks on the file system, I don't think you can create files of that size. Because like I'm talking now about tricks like creating a sparse file, you can create a file which, okay, let's backtrack to make sure I'm explaining this correctly. If you have a file in the file system, it has two sizes. How much size does the content of a file take? And how much does this file on the disk take? These are two different things. Usually, if you have a file which is just 1 byte, it will take still 4 kilobytes on the disk, or whatever is the block size on that disk, because that's how file systems work. They allocate blocks. But yeah, so you have like these two different sizes, and you can create files which are called sparse files. It's a file where you tell the it's a feature of the file system where you tell that, hey, this file has a empty space where there are only zeros. And you can say, oh, there are like this file, this empty file actually has an empty space between 0 and like some huge number, like, I don't know, hundreds of terabytes. And therefore you have a file which content of a file is hundreds of terabytes, but the size on the disk, actual usage space, is 0. Well, almost 0. It's going to be a little bit more, but almost 0. But I don't think any file system would support a file which is 2 to the power 63. So I don't think there's a way we go into negative numbers with long here, being 64-bit variable. So on Linux, it should be fine. On Windows, I don't trust it. Okay, let's look. One more thing on Windows, which I'm a little bit afraid of, is, but it should be fine. No, it should be fine. Okay. Because this error on Windows does a conversion while reading as well, and I don't remember if it does the same conversion when using FTL, but this size should still save the day here, so this is fine. So okay, so it's a little bit iffy, I would say, and when we call this internal powers, let's look if there's a buffer overflow. Just a quick look without the full code analysis. We do, okay, we have a line. What's going on here? Okay, and we copy stuff into the line from a position. Okay, so while this is a pointer, it points to the content, to the first character of the content. And we are at the beginning of the content, and we are, if we are not at the end of the content, and we are not at the new line character, and we are at a character which is less than line, we copy the line, basically. We copy the line into line. And at the end of the line, we put this thing, which is fine. Then if we are at the new line, we just skip the new line. We are not necessarily at the new line, but that's okay, just a parser quirk. Trim white spaces, which would remove the white spaces. What does trim white spaces look like? If it's a space or it's a tab, just continue. Okay. If it went to the end of a string, it's fine. If it didn't went to the end of a string, then we skip the text, which is, we skip until the end of a string, actually. And then we remove the characters, the white line characters from the white space characters from the end of the line. And we even check this. This isn't bad. Yeah, not terrible, not terrible. Like for a hand-baked C parser, this code doesn't look terrible, not gonna lie. But maybe, just maybe, it would require a bit more scrutiny to actually check if everything is really fine, because there might be hard to find on a live stream cases where, yeah, like, okay, this is our section. Is this a bug? No, because we did it here. Okay, very lucky. Yeah, there might be some minor bugs here after all, but I cannot see one immediately. So honestly, I'm somewhat impressed with the code. Now let's just check if it compiles. And then we switch to the Python code, which was generated on the website, and I think we can call it a day. Okay, let's compile it. GCC -wall w extra -c, and let's compile ini parser. Wow, what happened? Hello. Okay, GCC ini parser.c wall extra. That's warnings. All warning extra -c is just compile this one file. No warnings, not bad. So yeah, not bad, honestly. I always liked to say, but AI is like a junior engineer, and the code it generates today, maybe I have to assess it and say that maybe it's a little bit better. Cool. Let's see. Let's go back to this other code which we generated. Again, the prompt was generate a function in Python that is supposed to get a string and check if it's a number. That is something that uses only 0 to 9 digits. Okay. This one just runs isDigit. Okay. I think that's already a bug. So let's take a look. Let's run Python. Okay, let's give it a string, ASDF, and let's call isDigit. False. Well, it's not but a number, but true. 1, 2, 3, 4. True. Cool. Now, 0 to 9 are digits. We call them Arabic digits. Usually, I think that's not fully accurate. I think they're like Euro-Indian digits, to be more exact. If you start reading the Wikipedia articles about it, doesn't matter. That means that like Arabic and other digit system also exist. And actually Unicode has, I think, around 40 groups of digits existing, which, well, are not these digits. They are different digits. So let's go to Gynvael Unicode. Because here I have some test cases. For example, we have Arabic digits. Let's go with Arabic indic digits. This is a digit 0. This dot here is a digit 0. So let's just put in the string this digit 0. And hey, let's take a look. isDigit, it's true. But it's not a digit 0 to 9, which I told it. I told it has to be a digits only 0 to 9. And I meant these like ASCII digits, let's call them. But yeah, it still accepted this. So no, this code does not work. It tried, but yeah, like I'm going to go with like you tried again. Here, anything else here? No, I didn't think so. It's not even weird. So, okay. Some examples. Yeah. Alternative implementation. This one is with regular expression. Okay. Maybe. Oh, I don't like this, by the way. This is terrible. Let's, you know what? Let's just put it in the interpreter. Is number string regex. Okay, and let's call it with 0. Okay, true. So, because this isn't PHP. So no, this is fine. Let's check if it works with this alphabet. It also says true, so yeah, this isn't correct either. This one should be correct though. If for every character in string, if it's not in the character set, which I told it, then return false. Yeah, this one is better, it's correct. Wasn't there a fail to compile with C? No, it compiled correctly. There are no errors here. It's fine. Okay, let's take a look at Gemini. Gemini says, If it's not an instance of string, return false, and otherwise it says like is decimal. Okay, what's the difference between is digit and is decimal? I don't know. Well, but this is decimal as well, so this one also failed. I didn't know about this method, but fine. I really wonder, like, what are these like? It has, okay, it preemptively answered my question. Nice. So this is decimal is true only for base 10 characters. Okay, is digit is true for plus Unicode digits, but like this one is true for Unicode digits as well. So why are you lying to me? And is numeric is also fractions for numeric. Okay. So yeah, but it's kind of hallucinating. Why don't I have it's hallucinating? Program doesn't work as intended. Yeah, we can go with this one though, because yeah, it does not work as intended. This is not how I intended it to work. And now we have, yeah, bingo. Perfect. So we got a bingo. That's amazing. Let's look at the other code, which it was generated. Sorry, it's here. Oh, alternative method is with try except block. Oh, this is going to be good. If it's not an instance of string, then go away. If it starts with a minus, go away. Otherwise, it tries to convert like this, the integer input. So it tries to convert a string to an integer. If it works, it returns true. If it's a value error, it returns false. Okay, I need to check one thing. This isn't a terrible method. It will absolutely, like, int works with this alphabet as well, by the way, which is kind of funny, right? Because you might have, let's go here for a moment. Like, sorry, this one. You might have like this number, and int will tell you, oh, this is 42. Well, it looks like 89 to me, thank you, but no, int would tell you it's 42. What I wanted to check, if I give it a space and then a minus, like -1, yeah, this works as well. And I have a space, I have a minus, and this code should still, which was generated here, this code would, yeah, starts with, there's no strip here, they forgot a strip. So this code would still allow that to pass. So if this function does not work as intended. Using regular expression, this one looks good. I don't mind this one at all. This one should, well, I mind it, but it uses regular expression for such a simple task, but it might be pretty fast. So it gave us options. Then length of s is more than 0. It should check if it's a string, but doesn't matter that much. We kind of can trust the caller to call it correctly, and then it checks if all characters in the string are in this alphabet, which is fine. Yeah, no issue with that. So who's that? That's Grok, that's fine. And GPT-5 is ASCII is decimal. Okay, yeah, this is good as well. So I don't mind this code either. It does check if it's ASCII first, if this is the same alphabet, and then it checks if it's decimal. The question is like, is decimal, would it allow, I don't know if is decimal allows a -1, for example. No, it doesn't. So yeah, so but not bad. So for like all the codes which are generated here for this example, half of them work, I would say, and like as intended, as I wanted them to work, and half don't, because of additional features which Python has, which this AI might or might not be fully aware of. This explanation is a little bit like it hallucinated a little bit here, so that's also not great. And I think we can, yeah, we can call it a day in that case, because it's already more than the hour I said we will take. As such, I'm looking for a menu here. How do I display slides even? Does decimal allow a dot? We can try two things with decimal, by the way. Does it allow, well, but I guess it's going to be 0.0. It doesn't. and +0, it doesn't also. Does it allow like OX0? No, int would, I think, allow this one. No, it doesn't. I have to do like 16 here for this to be allowed. Okay, fair enough. So let's take a look if there are any other questions. If not, we can wrap it up. Okay, so Pablo writes, 32-bit for long was needed to improve performance for lower bit architectures like 16-bit x86, right? Now it can be 64 bits since it doesn't impact it. Yeah, this is correct. As in, long initially was 32-bit on 16-bit architectures where int was 16-bit as well. Then it moved to 32-bit and long remained 32-bit. And then it moved to 64-bit and it still remained as 32-bit, if I remember correctly. We would have to actually check that. Let's look for long C data types. There's like an article on Wikipedia about exactly that. But I don't remember, like it's about model. It's about data model in C. Wiki integer data model C. Okay, I'd have to look for it later. But yeah, we would have to check it, I guess, on like to be sure. But long is still, but I'm pretty sure it's still 32-bit on 64-bit architecture on Windows, not on Linux. Okay. Did you notice during your work any particular security issues AI brings to the code? Apart from what I showed today, there were like some other, it like misuses crypto quite a lot, but crypto is honestly hard to use anyway. It's like this, like any mistakes you think people could have made on Stack Overflow related to security in code, then I expect AI to also fail there. And wow, actually a lot of Stack Overflow code has vulnerabilities, so expect AI to in general make vulnerabilities. The fact that it doesn't is more amazing than the opposite. It's like, for example, some code, some problems, which we tested today, the AI of today solves correctly, while the AI of like a year ago still failed us at. So my guess is that in next year or like in 2 years, it's going to get better and better. But these were still simple stuff. And AI, apart from like that one case of opcode checking with opcode and AST checking with the Flask application, the Flask calculator application we played at the beginning, like as you can see, AI failed even with a simple calculator app, which it shouldn't. That problem has been described like everywhere on the internet. So yeah, we can revisit this like in a year and see like if it gets better then. But honestly, expect AI to make security vulnerabilities, check the code it has written, look for the vulnerabilities and fix them. That's the only proper way to go about using AI right now for programming. Have you tried using AI to scan for vulnerabilities, particularly in commercial projects? A little bit, yes, but not too much. Like it sometimes is like hilarious. I played a little bit more with it like 2 years ago. I had a conference talk about it where I made like a simple, but it's still ChatGPT 3.5 times, by the way. So I made like an agent system which did like look through the code and did majority voting on whether something is a bug, and then it tried to create an exploit, but it made a plan for the exploit, and for every step it did a majority vote of agents, whether that step makes sense. But that method was described in some newly released back then papers on how to make get better results from AI. Anyway, and in general, even that already could find vulnerabilities and write exploits for them, though only with simple vulnerabilities. The funny thing was that, for example, if the code looked like this, let's go to that. I removed that app file, that's not good. Let's create it again. Okay, there was blah, 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 like some route basically, which was a get route, whatever, and like there was a function, an endpoint, let's call it CMD, and it had a command parameter, which was a query parameter passed by the user through HTTP, and then the code was like run the command sent by the user, and then it was like command is like command to run is like dash C, and then the command from the user, and then there was some other code, but in this there was never anything like a system that actually called the command, or like in this case it would be like some process like tech call or something like that, right? There was nothing like that in the code. So it was like a fake vulnerability, but AI was like relentless, saying that, yeah, there is a vulnerability there, because the rest of the code looked identical, like a typical shell injection vulnerability. So what I would love to test is like, how does the modern AI actually deal with that? With like these fake red herring vulnerabilities in the code which don't really exist. I have my suspicions that it would fail hard. So that being said, at the same time, it has been proven by a lot of researchers that AI can be used to find real vulnerabilities in real systems. I saw like the folks from the PPP CTF team, well, they were ex-PPP, and they went to create a company which creates nowadays such scanners, vulnerability scanners, and they, I think today or yesterday, said on Twitter that they got some bug bounties from AI just going through the code. And also Google researchers are getting more and more vulnerabilities found by AI systems. So this is absolutely the way forward. And I have to also note that it will maybe not find everything, but whatever it finds and we fix, it's already amazing. And second, technically, we have been using AI, like techniques from artificial intelligence, scientific algorithms for like 15 years in fuzzing. Genetic fuzzing uses genetic algorithms, which don't work like modern AIs, but that was also an AI family of algorithms thing, technically, and it found thousands of bugs already. So I expect this is just like a different heuristic function. If you have over a heuristic function some other function which can verify the result with 100% accuracy, you can make a system out of that that will work really well. So if AI can find bugs, you can verify that it's actually a bug, a vulnerability, then yeah, then I would expect to see a lot of really good systems based on AI finding vulnerabilities. Okay, did I miss any questions? If not, I guess we should finish because it's 2 hours, and I told you I wouldn't keep you so long here. But I guess like I scared you also, saying that I will actually note who is leaving the meeting. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to scare you. So that's why so many people still left. I understand. Yeah, if you have any other questions or just like to chat about stuff, find me on Discord. And that's it. Thank you very much again for the invitation and for your time. Have a great evening. And yeah, that's it from my side.